For about almost 30 years, I spent working for a big multinational. So I've lived in different parts of the world, done a lot of travel. In a world where a lot of my working time has been spent in offices, and when it's not in offices, it's been kind of airports and hotels. I've worked in Canary Wharf, the financial district, on the other side of London. So it's meant that each day has started with quite a lengthy tube ride, along with lots and lots of other commuters. So not really a very pleasant start to the day. And then at the end of the day, you have exactly the same thing in reverse. So the start of the day doesn't set you up well because you've got this kind of tiring and quite unpleasant journey in. And then the end of the day doesn't settle you down because you've got this kind of unpleasant journey home. What I look for in life is the challenge of learning, of variety, and if I'm kind of focused on things which are of interest to me, that naturally gives me fulfilment. Probably 3 or 4 years, I've found myself more and more interested in growing, in kind of general themes of horticulture. I had the opportunity to retire last year. When I had the opportunity to be able to give myself more time, it was very easy for me to say yes, that's something which I want to do. I think the best way to describe my emotion would probably be elation. You know, I was absolutely delighted to be moving on because suddenly I had a whole new challenge. So the opportunity to be able to start again and have a completely blank diary in terms of how I could use my time was just really exciting. And I can honestly say that since I left, not for a single second have I said to myself, I made the wrong decision. I'd signed up for a Royal Horticultural Society course. I really enjoy learning, acquiring new knowledge. And it's the positive feeling of creating things through your own skills. Horticulture for me is really nice because I can experiment. I use my garden, I use the allotment as a kind of laboratory to try things out. And if they work, that's fantastic, and I've learned, and I can feel pleased with the achievement. And if they don't work, well, that's okay, because I've also learned. When I kind of arrive, the first thing I'll do is just have a walk around, see what I see. There's always things which need doing. I have a general plan. I walk around, I look and see what needs to be done, and then I just get on with it. When I'm on the plot, I'm not looking at my watch. I'm doing what I think I want to do, and then when it gets to a natural time to stop, I stop. So I'm not guided by my watch in the way that I certainly used to be in my working life. So I think probably once you lose the need to be controlled by time, you naturally become more patient. 20 years ago, I don't think I would have had that patience, and I would definitely have had a tougher standard for myself. So I would have been more guided by the desire not to fail. Whereas now I'm quite happy to fail. If I never failed, my feeling is I wouldn't be pushing myself hard enough. But the result of that is I'll never have a perfect allotment, because it's a portfolio of trials. I think horticulture just does teach you to pay more attention. I'm now much more aware of the fact that different seasons mean different things. Challenges are different, and how you react has to be different. And actually how you feel is kind of different as well. So I probably feel more in tune now actually with the kind of natural cycle of the year than I ever did when I was working in a big office. You have to kind of work with them, and that's actually that's what, for me anyway, what kind of being in tune with nature is. It's not fighting it, it's kind of accepting it and adjusting yourself to kind of fit with it. I think on an allotment generally speed isn't important, and therefore you get, for me anyway, you'll get better answers and better results by trying to embrace more people in, get different points of view, get more commitment, get more enthusiasm, so people feel like they've got some ownership, a stake in what's being done. When you're in an environment where that's what people are there for, whether it's on the allotment or whether it's in college, you're surrounded by people who are positive, enthusiastic, keen to engage. So all of your conversations are really upbeat, high energy, optimistic, supportive, constructive, you know, all those kind of real positive adjectives. There's actually, you know, what I've kind of found is that people can get very enthusiastic and happy for other people's success. You know, they're kind of interested because, you know, somebody does something well, that can be an opportunity to learn how you can do something better. It's very rare that somebody won't say hello to you if you walk past them. What you can quite often find is, as you're walking through, that it takes quite a long time to get from one place to another, because, you know, you're stopping all the time to have a little chat with different people. The allotment site is a kind of natural habitat for all kinds of creatures that are good for the kind of general environment of the neighbourhood, not limited to the allotment site. You know, on our site we've got foxes, obviously, we've got mice, we've got slow worms, newts, frogs, bats, a whole plethora of birds. So yes, no. So last year, Ascott Allotment was jointly, to be fair, with a site in South London, won the allotment award for 2017. So we got a certificate and we got a little trophy. It's been an excellent way of generating some pride in what goes on, and, you know, hopefully encouraging more people to get involved in some of the community activities, which all rely on volunteer time. So the more volunteers that we've got who can give some extra time, you know, the more things that we can do, the better quality of environment we can make for people. As we're doing projects like the wildlife area renovation, which we're doing at the moment, that also is an opportunity to kind of bring people together, to create stuff, which then gives you the opportunity to market it. We have some links into local schools, so we do some educational workshops on the site as well. So that brings kids on, and they can see some of the different kind of aspects of growing, and that hopefully kind of encourages them. For me personally, it would be fantastic if we could move towards a more organic, intuitive way of running the site. So not having heavy reliance on chemicals, not having lots of bonfires, you know, finding different ways to use waste material, not having so much reliance on the city water system, you know, using our own ways of capturing water, maintaining moisture better through mulching, rather than just, you know, pouring more water on the top. Composting, obviously. So there are kind of practices like that which I think, you know, are better generally for the environment, where allotment sites like ours ought to be taking the lead. The RHS has a programme at the moment called Greening Grey Britain. So it's taking on the kind of very functional way that a lot of people live their lives. You know, they buy a house or acquire a house, they demolish the front garden, they cover it in tarmac so they can park their car on it, they put astroturf in their back garden so that the kids can run around on it, they put slabs down for the paths. So suddenly, you know, so much of the natural ground just disappears, and the more that happens, the more the shape of streets changes, and I think actually your kind of mental attitude to your environment changes as well. I'm very interested in the kind of concept of trying to expand nature into the places where it's been kind of lost, if you like. But I think there's also a community opportunity out of that by allowing people who are living in the neighbourhoods also to be able to kind of see some of that and get the same sort of feeling of it, which hopefully they can then translate into their own houses, their own homes. Growing is simply a legacy that you are leaving for the next person to occupy the land. If you do take the time just to kind of look around and realise that everything that you see is the product of something which people previously have put time and effort and thought into, actually you're starting to see some sense of residual history, aren't you, in the environment which you just normally take for granted.